The first part of the anime begins with a man named Haruhiro and several others being sent to another world called Grimgar. No one knows why they were sent to another world and who sent them to Grimgar. Even their memories of when they were still on Earth became hazy. After the people sent to Grimgar met each other, they all wondered what was happening. Shortly afterward, appeared two foreign men wearing iron armor. The two men took them all to the place of a man named Brittany. Because Brittany is the one responsible for explaining things to all of them, he welcomes them to Grimgar. They were currently in the Red Moon office of the Ortana Border Force Volunteer Squad, and he was the head of the office. But so far, Brittany didn't understand why they had all been sent to Grimgar. Because 15 years ago, the same thing happened to him. He was sent to Grimgar without knowing the reason. Soon afterward, Brittany offered to all of them to join the volunteer army. In return, he will give 10 silver coins to all of them, where the task of the volunteer troops is to destroy the monsters and steal the items that the monsters have. After that, they can sell the item for money. But there was a debate between them all because some wanted to leave that place immediately. After getting an explanation from Brittany, finally, they were forced to decide to join the volunteer army. Not long after, he divided the troops into two groups. The first was led by a man named Renji, while the second group was led by a man named Minato. Unfortunately, the difference in strength between these two groups is very far. Renji's group could fight very well against monsters, while Minato's group was far behind and relatively weak. The unfair division of the group occurred because, from the beginning, Renji had chosen strong people to join his group. In contrast, Minato's group consisted of people who were not chosen by Renji, including Haruhiro. After the group was formed, Minato distributed tasks to them based on their respective roles. Haruhiro will play a thief, a woman named Shiharu as a mage, a woman named Yume as a hunter, a man named Ranta as a dread knight, a man named Moguzo as a warrior, and Minato as a priest. After completing the division of roles, they immediately went to their respective jails. Haruhiro enters a thief jail to learn how to become a thief, trained by a woman named Barbara. The training for beginners will last for 1 week. After finishing training, Haruhiro got the nickname Old Cat from Barbara because his eyes always looked sleepy like an old cat. After they finished practicing, they all regrouped. They planned to conduct their first hunt as a volunteer group, targeting and fighting 2 goblins, the weakest monsters in Grimgar. After they tried to attack the 2 goblins, unfortunately, they all had a hard time and were overwhelmed against it. This is normal because they had never fought and risked their lives like this from the start. They kept trying to shoot at the goblins, but all of their attacks didn't hit the 2 goblins at all. One of the goblins even attacked Shiharu, causing her to be injured. Luckily, Minato was able to heal Shiharu using his healing magic easily. After that, Minato asked them to withdraw from the battle this time. They decided to go back to their inn. Minato's group stayed at a very cheap inn, as their financial condition was running low. Moreover, they still can't earn any income, so they can only cook with minimal ingredients. The next day, Minato explained his next plan, where he plans to look for goblins that are alone for them to hunt because they are still having a hard time if they have to face 2 goblins. So they will only target goblins who are alone to fight and plunder. Unfortunately, they couldn't find the goblins alone. The only thing they found was a group of 4 goblins. That's why they couldn't possibly face the 4 goblins. Besides that, the annoying thing for them was that the food of the 4 goblins was much tastier than the food they ate. On that day, they decided to go home without doing anything. That night, Haruhiro accidentally woke up from his sleep. However, he couldn't find Minato's whereabouts in the inn. He decided to go out of the inn to look for Minato. Moments later, it turned out that Minato had just returned from Shelly's tavern, looking for useful information. Even though the price of food and drinks at that place was quite high, he was willing to use his money to collect information for his group. This time, Minato managed to get information about hunting locations suitable for beginners like them. Soon afterward, Haruhiro and Minato chatted about various things outside their inn. The next day, they hunted to the place Minato was referring to. At that place, they managed to find a goblin fetching water in the lake alone. Seeing this, they immediately prepared to ambush the goblin. Unexpectedly, Ranta instead screamed and ran towards the goblin, which threw their surprise attack plan into disarray. However, they still attacked the goblin from multiple directions simultaneously. Looks like their fighting style is better than before. In the middle of the fight, the goblin managed to stab Haruhiro in the shoulder, knocking him into a corner. Luckily, he defeated the goblin thanks to Ranta and Moguzo's help. After finishing fighting the goblins, Minato covered Haruhiro's wounds with his magic. They did not forget to take the loot from the goblin in the form of fangs and silver coins. Unexpectedly, the goblin bounced back and attacked Ranta's legs with the sword. It turned out that their attack had not succeeded in killing the goblin. The enraged Ranta immediately ran after the goblin and attacked it so viciously that the goblin actually died. After everything was done, Minato, Haruhiro, and Ranta returned to the city to sell their loot. After dividing equally, they got 18 copper coins per person. Actually, the money is quite small, considering they have to risk their lives to get it. But it was pretty good progress for all of them. Because of the fight earlier, it was the first time they had managed to kill a goblin and earn their own money. After that, they decided to end the day's hunting and went to the market. They all felt very tired during the fight earlier. They used the money to buy their own wishes. Actually, Haruhiro was a little doubtful whether they could still survive in the Grimgar world. Especially if they can't get a single game the next day, it continues for the next few days. As a result, their financial condition is getting worse. Moreover, the clothes they've been wearing all this time have holes, but they don't have the money to buy new clothes. Haruhiro only had one pair of underwear, so he only wore it during the day because he washed them at night. This is experienced by women, so they are determined to buy more appropriate clothes if they have more money. The next day, Haruhiro and the others decided to change the location of the hunt. They tried to hunt in the ruins of the city of Demuro. Actually, it was a dangerous place for beginners because the city had now become a home for goblins. As a result, many goblins live in groups, so they will be very dangerous for their group. But now they had no choice because they wouldn't get any prey if they kept hunting at the previous place. Even so, they remained cautious and only hunted goblins who were alone. Not long after, Haruhiro found the goblin sleeping alone, so they could defeat the goblin very easily. Moreover, the loot this time was more than before. After that, they continued hunting for the other goblins, but they still targeted the goblins who were alone. After they had enough, they decided to return to the inn. From the hunt that day, they got quite a lot of money. That was why Haruhiro could now buy extra underwear. In addition, they bought more food than the previous day. Afterward, Minato said it would be best if they started collecting money to learn new skills. So, in this world of Grimgars, they could pay someone to teach them a new skill. Since their income has increased, they should start saving to learn new skills and prepare themselves to fight more dangerous enemies. While in the room, Haruhiro asked Minato why he wanted to be in a group with weak people. According to Haruhiro, Minato is a person who is very easy to get along with new people and has great abilities as an adventurer. Surely many other groups invited him to join them. Some of them were even quite a large group. Minato replied that he didn't really like relationships that prioritized positions. That's why he felt more comfortable with all of them in one group. Haruhiro thanked him for helping them all. Because without Minato, maybe their days will be very difficult. After that, he thanked Haruhiro for wanting to be his groupmate. The next day, as usual, Minato and his group hunted to Demuro town. But this time, they all learned new skills in their respective sections. Haruhiro had learned a skill called backstab, which was useful for piercing the enemy's back so quickly that the enemy received a fatal hit. The other members also learned new skills on their respective sides. Thanks to that training, they were now able to fight even better. They were even able to fight against 3 goblins at once. At the same time, their income automatically increases. As they were walking, Haruhiro saw a goblin archer aiming for Minato. Haruhiro immediately ran to save him. As a result, the arrow hit Haruhiro's arm. This made the entire group very panicked and confused. Since it was their first time ambushed by goblins, even other goblins appeared, making the situation even more chaotic. Luckily, Minato managed to heal Haruhiro by using his magic. After they finished, they immediately fled from the pursuit of the goblins earlier. Unfortunately, Minato was hit by an archer's goblin instead. While walking, he endured the pain from the wound on his back until they managed to escape to a safer place. Arriving in the middle of the forest, Minato seemed to have run out of blood until he was unconscious. Seeing him, who was injured, made the other members very panicked. They did everything they could to save Minato because he was no longer strong enough to use his healing magic to treat him. Minato apologized to Haruhiro and appointed him as the next group leader. After that, they took him to a church. Once there, Haruhiro enlists the help of a priest to heal Minato. Unfortunately, the priest said that Minato was dead, so there was nothing more that could be done to save him. Hearing that made them very sad. They must accept the harsh reality that their leader, friends, and family have died. The only thing they could do was give Minato a proper burial. If not, it is feared that Minato will get a curse from the King of Death, which makes his body turn into an andit. The priest was willing to pay the entire cost of Monato's cremation if they had no money, but Haruhiro rejected the priest's offer because Minato was a very precious family to them. So, they intend to pay for his funeral using their money. In the evening, they finished cremating at Monato's funeral. After Monato's departure, the group's condition worsened. Ranta fought with Haruhiro instead because he blamed Haruhiro for Monato's death. According to him, Minato was exhausted after healing Haruhiro earlier, so he couldn't heal himself. Their bickering escalated until, finally, Moguzo intervened between them. Moguzo said that no one was at fault for Monato's death. He suggested they think about what their group should do in the future. because they should still be able to continue hunting without Monato's presence. At that time, the group had the arrival of a man named Kakawa. He is sent to Grimgar along with Haruhiro and the others, but he decides to join a group of men called Takamune. It turned out that Kakawa had acquaintances with a priest, and they could invite the priest to take Monato's place. Hearing that, Haruhiro and the others agreed with his suggestion. The next day, Haruhiro and the others get acquainted with a female priest named Mary. But apparently, Mary has a very bad nature, so their interaction feels awkward. Moreover, Yume and Shiharu still couldn't accept Monato's departure, and suddenly, they had Mary, who had to take Monato's place. During the fight against the goblins, Mary is very selfish because she immediately refuses when the others ask her to be on the front lines. When Ranta was injured, she refused to heal him, as he only had scratches. If Monato was still alive, he could do these three things with pleasure. In the past, Monato acted as a healer, a strategist as well as their leader. And the group's current priest was very much different when compared from him. This made them all feel annoyed and confused about whether they should continue as volunteers or should they find another job. When he was confused, Renji suddenly came to meet them. After that, he gave Haruhiro 1 gold coin as condolences for Monato's death. However, he refused the gold coin Renji had given him and returned it to him, because he didn't like making money that way. If Monato were in Haruhiro's position, surely he would do the same with him. After everything was done, Haruhiro returned to the inn and met Yume. Because lately, he felt that the relationship between the men and women in the group was starting to loosen up a bit. He asked her if he had made a mistake that made her angry. It turns out that Yume was angry because, after Monato's departure, the men seemed to move away and ignore the women. Moreover, Haruhiro included Mary without asking what she thought. Whereas fellow group members should be able to be more open and exchange ideas with each other, instead of ignoring each other and doing things on their own. Fortunately, now Haruhiro had realized his mistake, and he will try to be a much better leader in the future. Since then, the relationship between men and women has been close again. They try to be closer to Mary. They considered her an outsider because she had a very annoying nature, which made it difficult for them to get along with her. They tried to get closer to Mary, but unfortunately, she was still cold to them. When fighting against the goblins, it turns out that Mary wants to heal Moguzo, who was injured quite deeply. Seeing that, Haruhiro asked Mary what kind of fighting style she usually used. Because Haruhiro served as a thief, he didn't really understand what her fighting style was like as a priest. However, Mary replied that Haruhiro shouldn't know about it. If he doesn't like it, then he can immediately tell her. She did not mind leaving their group if they all objected to her presence. Hearing this, he thought Mary was very annoying. Even when he had asked nicely, her answer would be even colder. This is the end of the first part of the anime.